Hi, everybody. Welcome to Afternoon Tea, episode 8. We are in August. Welcome. And I'm here, Niyati Patel, with Shawn Bradbury.
Hello, everyone. Great to see you again.
And we're here talking about everything parenting. Shawn works with single dads, and I work with families. And really, our focus is what brings us together is how can we help raise our kids being the individuals that we are? Because we bring ourselves into every situation, even as a parent, and that as a parent we matter in this world and especially for our kids. Today, we want to talk about, it's important. We want to be present for our kids. We want to be doing our best for our kids. But there's so many things, even when we are with family, with the kids or with the family, there's so many things pulling us away from it. So we want to talk about distractions. What is it that takes us away from the very thing that we want, and the very thing that we work for, and the very thing that's a priority in so many ways, and the very thing that brings us down because, oh, I didn't do this well enough. Well, if it matters so much that it could bring you down, then what is it that keeps us away from it, even while we're with it? So we're going to bounce off some thoughts and conversation. And of course, we want to have your attention, but also hear back from you as to what this means for you. And so, Shawn, we talked about a little about, how we can be present and be taken away from presence. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, sometimes, growing up, I had a hard time being present in my mind. I always found my mind was racing with many different things. And even when I put myself in nature back in the day, I still struggled. And I'm like, why am I sitting here at the beach on a nice rock and I'm still feeling anxious and my mind is racing? I think part of it is, learned behavior, learn how to silence the noise around you to be, first of all, to be present for yourself.
Mm.
Because I feel like if I'm not present for myself, then it's hard to be present for anybody else. And I think over time, it just comes down to, what's going on around me? What are the circumstances? What are the conversations? What's the technology? What are the things I'm taking in that's not allowing me to be present? And am I structuring the time for myself to be present, whether that's meditation or a walk in nature? And I have found that's been very helpful for me too. But even with technology, really just trying to, cut it off at some point, like especially before going to bed, it's like you're not going to be in the moment with all that stuff just whirling around in your head. And I just think it's just really dedicating some time and space for yourself to just be able to bring it all down and maybe whether it's meditation or walk in nature, just kind of reconnect with yourself.
I find that, of course, the meditation and time in nature, all of those are times when those are, I guess, my practice. Like, just like you train in something, my practice in
Yep.
being present to myself. But I think that the real practice kicks in when I am with the family, when I
Hmm.
am with my loved ones, and to really be present because I'm constantly thinking what's to be done next, what was done, um, what are the things that we need to accomplish. Um, and I think in recent times, I think even with, you mentioned technology, and I wonder what kind of distraction you find in that.
I mean, having my daughter who's 17 constantly on the phone, taking the selfies, doing this, doing the peace thing, and I always kind of jab her a little bit because I see it all the time. And it's like that's the world they live in. So that's the kind of the little battle we have to have. I try to put boundaries on it. Like if we're going to have dinner, we need to put the phones down, even off the table. We need to have that separation and that connection. But it's awesome when like her and I do have that connection because we have like music, we connect through music, we connect through art. We have well, she might make me breakfast. We make a meal together. We sit down. Those are the connections, and even the bantering after work. She started working this year, and she hates it. It's like Dad, I hate work, and I'm like, okay, you probably just don't like where you are right now, but even that connection of her venting to me is still being present. She's talking about something, and I give it space because it's needed. But that's a connected moment because it's awesome. When she came out of her room last night, she wanted a little time for herself, and she came out, she sat down, and I was actually getting ready for bed. She goes, "Oh, I want to talk to you." Okay, so yeah, I'm good. You come out and you tell me that, I'm like, I'm making time for you. So that's then you have those moments, which are few and far between at times, but when they come, don't let them go.
It's beautiful. Thank you for that. I think as parents, our kids are our biggest priority, and like you said, right before bed. But if she's gonna come talk to you, you drop everything, even your sleep. And I think we can have more of those moments. Not to say that our kids are gonna come all the time, but to be able to be present and with so much love. I mean, who does that other than parents?
Yeah.
And that's the precious role, that's the precious presence, that's the precious power of love that parents hold in this world. No one else can take that role. And yet, that's a lot of people, because there are a lot of people who are parents. But the
Yeah.
world wouldn't be without families. But the thing that brings us down also, when you keep mentioning technology, my reflection on technology is that yes, the kids are drawn into it, but I'm drawn into it. And when
Guilty.
I'm looking at, when I'm looking at all this stuff on there, and I think that is just another form of what has always been there. Because there's always been voices, there's always been things, these systems out there, how we should be, and how to be a good parent, how to be a good whatever. How are you providing well? What is good enough? And so um, it puts you in a space of comparison, or it puts you in a place of, oh, you're not doing this, you should be doing this. Something that you hadn't thought of, but well, some things are great, they spark ideas, but for the most part, I really feel down in myself when I am done scrolling, when I'm done looking at it.
Oh yeah.
And and I can't impose a better way of being, or I can't model or teach my child a better way of being unless I know how to be. So I could say take away the phone, and how does it work? Because what are we gonna do when we're faced with each other? But if I can be present, and I'm starting to do that, it's hard work to not get drawn into it.
Yeah.
But I think it's just changed form over time. But these things are always present. Before there were magazines, um,
It's
certain shows, um, gossip. We're always comparing, and so I think that anything that'll make us feel small gets in the way of how we can show up.
yeah, and just to piggyback on what you said about, she's come out and said, "Dad, put your phone down." She'll call me out on it too. She's like, "You always complain that I'm on my phone, but you're on your phone just as much." And even last night, as I'm going to bed, I'm death scrolling through Facebook, and I'm like, well, what am I even looking for? And I see the same thing over and over again, the same woman dancing, The same ads, the same pitches, especially what you and I are trying to do. We're bombarded with those messages and everything. And I'm just like, what am I trying to accomplish here? Because I'm so not in the moment, and this is prior to me going to bed. So how is this even going to make for a peaceful night's sleep? It's so we're all prone to that distraction, if you will. Yeah, it's a hard thing to do. And I think, role modeling it too, as well, to put it down, to put it aside. And especially if it's a dinner table, you put it down, you don't grab your phone either, because the minute you grab the phone, and now you're saying this is okay. It's
The challenge is, and I believe that's going to be for all of us, is once you take the distraction away, we have to get comfortable with who we are.
yeah.
And in the beginning, we can feel some thumb twiddling, nervousness, and it's you just don't know how to be if you don't have the distraction. And believe me, folks, as I speak, when I say distraction, I also mean we're prompted to take action based on our distraction. And you can call me out on it if you wish, if you will. But things like what kind of brand shoes we will buy for us or our kids, what kind of vacation we want to have. Should we have a vacation? It may not be the right time for us, but we were going to do it anyway. Um, what kind of food we want to eat, what kind of restaurant we want to go to, what school, what camps our kids go to. These are actions that we're going to take. But what informs us has to come from inside us. And a lot of times we know, but we don't have the time or space to be with that knowing, with that inner knowing. And to be present, to bring presence to our space as parents, as families. How can we recognize the distractions that are coming our way so that we can honor the inner space, that inner knowing that we have in ourselves? So all of the meditation, yoga, tai chi, whatever it is that you do, go out in nature, use that as an opportunity to discern what is the distraction versus what is you. And I think the practice for us would be to then bring it back to the table, so to say, just like at the dinner table. And you might find yourself slipping back into the distraction, and that'll happen. But over time, the more clear you get into what is essential to what is distraction, the way you show up will shift. And the answers will be a lot easier to access because inside you, you know. But
Right.
outside you, there are only certain things that are possible. That's where the limitations are. And the more that you and I can come together from that inner knowing, when I say you and I, meaning parents and families and communities coming together, not to show where we are, what we did, but who we are. And you can only do that when you met yourself again and again and again and again. And then you can support that in another person. And I believe that what we're doing here, this effort on YouTube and the communities that we're both nurturing, is about doing just that.
I think a lot of it's bringing awareness to yourself, being truthful with yourself, and being kind to yourself too. Like, as parents, we're always going to feel we dropped the ball on something, and we just need to learn from those processes and learn to forgive ourselves. I think that's a huge thing too. And being present helps with that, because you're not thinking about the past, you're not thinking about what I did wrong, you're just being. And a lot of people have a hard time with that. I was at a networking event a few weeks ago, and the keynote speaker, he had us lined up in and we're going to take a walk, and we're just going to be quiet. And we're just going to, it was a beautiful backyard near the water, and just take it in, take in the sky, take in whatever, the smells, everything. But there was one woman who had a hard time with that. She kept talking, and he just wanted everyone to quiet. So I'm like, I'm walking along, and my hand's brushing along leaves and grass, and I'm taking it in because I'm used to that. I understand the premise, but she had a hard time with it, kind of being a goofball, kind of just, continuing to chat and stuff. So I found it interesting. It's like, what is her struggle with trying to be present? I mean, is it really hard for her to have that? Because a lot of people don't like the silence either. They don't know what to do with it, especially kids. They don't know what to do if they're not talking to someone on a phone or anything like that. If they're left to their own devices, they don't know what to do.
I think that's age related too. I think
Without a
as
doubt.
they grow, we teach them our ways, and then they're in the same loop or conditions as we are.
Yep.
But this is something we want to leave with today is it is not easy, but it needs perseverance. And Shawn, like you rightfully said, it also needs tons and tons of kindness and forgiveness. We have to forgive ourselves, but not give up.
Yep.
And with this presence that we bring, we can honor ourselves and honor our families. So we want to hear from you, your stories and your take. And please give us a like and subscribe. I don't enjoy saying it, but that tells us who else is engaged with us. And we have our community links in the description below. Please explore, and we would love to reach out to anyone who would like to have a conversation with us. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I agree. If anyone has any questions or anything, please just feel free to reach out to us. And it's all baby steps too. You don't feel that you gotta spill your guts to us either. It's just all baby steps. And we so much appreciate you watching us. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.